This is the third and final part of a response to an article published on the website Screen Rant, titled Lord of the Rings 15 Things About Sauron That Make No Sense. This article is linked in the description. I recommend watching parts 1 and 2 of my response, where I provide some detail on why this article deserves a response in the first place. Before I started this series, I wasn't familiar with Screen Rant, and it became apparent quite quickly that they might not really know what they're talking about, and that their writers discussing Tolkien aren't well versed in his material. And I can say that about all of the writers I have read in that site that I have encountered so far. In some instances, I am sure they are being disingenuous when it comes to what they include or exclude in their articles. In the future, I will probably respond only to the most egregious articles from them, if I respond to them again at all. Having covered 10 points already, I will focus on the final 5 points, once again quoting the author word for word, before providing my own response. Number 5. Frodo and Bilbo have different reactions to the ring. The ring seems to have a connection to Sauron once someone puts it on, depending on who that person is. When Frodo first puts on the ring to attempt to escape on Weathertop, which was a terrible idea to start with, there is an immediate connection to Sauron, and it is used to help him find Frodo. This happens a second time, suggesting that the ring somehow activates a homing beacon when worn. Yet when Bilbo wore the ring, nothing like this happened. He used it as a party trick, and Sauron couldn't sense him at all, needing to find and torture Gollum just to get a hint as to its whereabouts. This is admittedly explained somewhat in the books, but in the movies it seems as though the ring has different rules for different wearers. Her final remark: this is admittedly explained somewhat in the book, but in the movies it seems as though the ring has different rules for different wearers. This is the sort of disingenuous writing I am talking about. What is there to complain about here? Sometimes the author forgets the books exist. Other times she says something doesn't make sense because of the books. You can't have it both ways. If you are admitting that it is explained in the books, then apply that explanation to the movies. If the movies are wrong, then put it down to a writing decision. The writers not understanding the source material, or the writers making a mistake. It is still explained in the books, as you say. Let's go through this anyway. The author says that when Frodo puts the ring on when he is on Weathertop, that a connection to Sauron is immediate. This isn't at all what happens in the novel, or even in the adaptation. Sauron doesn't need help finding Frodo when he wears the ring on Weathertop, because the mightiest of his servants, the Ringwraiths, are standing a few feet away from him and see him doing it. Why would Sauron need to be involved in any way here to find Frodo? He has been found, and the One Ring has been found.
And at last he slowly drew out the chain and slipped the ring on the forefinger of his left hand. Immediately, though everything else remained as before, dim and dark, the shapes became terribly clear. He was able to see beneath their black wrappings. There were 5 tall figures, 2 standing on the lip of the dell, 3 advancing.
There is no homing beacon to the ring. This is a mistake the movies make more than once. Later, upon Amon Hen, Frodo wears the One Ring again, but it is he who draws the attention of Sauron by gazing too far. It is not that Sauron just immediately knows the location of whoever wears the ring.
And suddenly he felt the eye. There was an eye in the dark tower that did not sleep. He knew that it had become aware of his gaze. A fierce, eager will was there. It leaped towards him, Almost like a finger he felt it, searching for him. Very soon it would nail him down, know just exactly where he was. Amenhlar it touched. It glanced upon Tolbrandir. He threw himself from the seat, crouching, covering his head with his grey hood. He heard it.
When Bilbo used the ring, Sauron was not actively seeking it in that place. I repeat, there is no beacon or signal that is sent. It is simply not the fault of the books if the movies make this mistake and cause confusion. The fact the authors said that this is explained in the books, but chose to include it anyway, is just baffling. Number 4. I am no man, and make no sense. Another plot point that makes a lot more sense in the books is the eventual destruction of the Witch King of Angmar, thanks to Éowyn. The Lord of the Nazgul, it is said that he is so powerful that no man can kill him, which is a statement about his strength, not about gender. However, in the movie, Éowyn destroys him in battle by simply revealing her long blonde hair and yelling, "I am no man," before stabbing him in the face. There's no doubt it's an epic moment, but it's totally nonsensical. What part of the ring's magic specify the gender of the person who can kill the wearer? Why would that be forged into the magic ring's fine print in the first place? This is an interesting point, because while the author is correct in saying that this is explained in the books, she is completely wrong about the explanation that's provided. Saying that the Witch King can't be defeated by a man because he is so powerful is just wrong. It has nothing to do with his power. It also has nothing to do with the ring that the Witch King was most likely not even wearing at the time. Why would she assume that this ring would have any effect in this situation? Another misunderstanding of the nature of the rings of power, perhaps. What the author should be speaking of is the foresight of Glorfindel. This is what happens when the elf stops the King of Gondor, Eärnur, from pursuing the Witch King long before the events of the Lord of the Rings. Eärnur now rode back, but Glorfindel, looking into the gathering dark, said, "Do not pursue him. He will not return to this land. Far off yet is his doom, and not by the hand of man will he fall." These words many remembered. This is a topic I will discuss on this channel, but this is why the legend surrounding the Witch King grows, with even the Witch King believing it himself. It is not nonsensical. The author's belief that this was a statement of the power of the Witch King is nonsensical. Glorfindel's words do not have relevance in regards to the ring that the Witch King bore, so why mention it? Glorfindel's words speak of how the Witch King will meet his end. They are not a statement of who can defeat the Witch King. It is more Shakespeare's Macbeth than Nostradamus. A prophecy stating that events would occur in a certain way, but not that other situations were impossible. Number 3. Elrond is an idiot. In addition to Gandalf and friends deciding to sit back and relax while Sauron built an army at Mordor, another man decided to simply let an opportunity to destroy the Dark Lord pass him by. Elrond. At the end of the battle, where Isildur chopped off Sauron's finger, and the ring with it, Isildur and Elrond went to the fires of Mount Doom to toss it in. However, Isildur gives in to the power of the ring and walks away, and Elrond just stands there and calls after him helplessly. Except that he isn't helpless. As an elf, he is faster and lighter of foot than almost all men, and has a degree of magic of his own, especially foresight. There is no reason that he wouldn't run after Isildur, force the ring out of his hand, and throw it in himself. This one is difficult to argue against from a Tolkien perspective, because nothing like this happens in the books. Elrond and Isildur do not enter the Sammath Naur for Isildur to destroy the ring. Isildur has already claimed it. He is encouraged to deal with the ring, but claims it as payment for the death of his brother and father, despite having already seen Sauron's defeat. The wise encourage him to destroy it, and he refuses. What would you have Elrond or the others do? Kill the High King of the Realms in exile? Take the One Ring from him through violence, causing a war between elves and men? Obtaining the ring and then most likely being unable to decide who destroys it, or even to destroy it. The ring was unbreakable by any smithcraft less than his own. It was indissoluble in any fire, save the undying subterranean fire where it was made, and that was unapproachable in Mordor. Also so great was the ring's power of lust, that anyone who used it became mastered by it. It was beyond the strength of any will, even Sauron's own, to injure it, cast it away, or neglect it. So he thought. Even if Elrond forced the ring from Isildur, what makes you think Elrond would have the will to destroy it when it came down to it? Much like Gandalf or Galadriel, Elrond holds power, and those who hold power have even more to fear from this ring. I believe that forcing the One Ring from someone in violence is some declaration that it is yours. Such is the twisted nature of the ring. It was always safer and wiser to encourage someone to destroy it. Isildur chose not to. To say that there is no reason why Elrond couldn't force it from him shows a lack of understanding of not only rings of power, but of any sort of political fallout from such a move. It could have been devastating. With the belief that Sauron was defeated, the elves may have believed that they had time to solve the problem, after recovering from a long and brutal campaign in the War of the Last Alliance, one that resulted in the deaths of many, including kings and princes. The loss of the ring and Isildur, in only the second year of the Third Age, was unexpected. Number 2. Sauron takes a break at a vital moment. This one is a common issue with big bad villains throughout all stories. The tendency for the villain to avoid striking a killing blow as soon as they have the chance. In Lord of the Rings, this happens when Sauron sees Aragorn in the Palantir, and the most powerful evil being of Middle-earth reacts by essentially freaking out and acting like an idiot. He moves one attack forward in a panic, losing that battle as Aragorn and his ghosts win the battle for Minas Tirith. He actually had the armies to strike a second time and win, but instead hung back and just kind of waited in the hope that Aragorn would mess up. This, of course, Aragorn didn't do, giving the hobbits just enough time to get to Mordor, and leaving Aragorn alive to distract Sauron so that Frodo could get to the fires. But Sauron was preparing for another assault. Gandalf explains all of this in a very important chapter in The Return of the King, called The Last Debate. Once again, if you are able to say this is explained in the books for other points, why not for this one? Gandalf plainly tells us that the first great assault was defeated, but that the next will be greater. Victory cannot be achieved through arms, and Sauron has the strength to assault repeatedly.
Hardly has our strength sufficed to beat off the first great assault. The next will be greater. This war, then, is without final hope, as Denethor perceived. Victory cannot be achieved by arms. Whether you sit here to endure siege after siege, or march out to be overwhelmed beyond the river, you have only a choice of evils. And prudence would counsel you to strengthen such strong places as you have, and there await the onset. For so shall the time before your end be made a little longer.
This is one reason why the fight is taken to Sauron. It is in the hope that Frodo will be given enough time to destroy the ring through Sauron's distraction. The only way to defeat Sauron is to destroy the One Ring, and they are now accepting a possible suicide mission in the hope that Frodo is close to succeeding in his own quest. Sauron was not an idiot. He assumes that Aragorn carries the One Ring, and that is why he has hastily marched on Mordor. Sauron sees this as an opportunity to punish this so-called Ring Lord and the army of the West, looking away from the one place that spells his doom. Number 1. Sauron's body, or lack thereof. One of the most confusing things, especially to movie fans, is the question of whether or not Sauron actually has a body. Originally, of course, he was as corporeal as anyone else in the series. When he lost the ring, his body was destroyed, yet he lived on. He then returned as the Necromancer, who was pictured as a kind of shape of a man in the films, and then seemed to have a full form when Gollum was tortured, as he described Sauron as missing the fingers that Isildur cut off. Despite this, however, he is seen as mostly incorporeal during the War of the Ring, never coming out to do battle, despite being theoretically more powerful than anyone, and seeming to exist partially in the form of the Eye. It's not really clear what he is at this point, other than bad. I can understand movie fans being confused about Sauron's physical form, especially since it seems to physically make him an eye. The author mentions Gollum speaking of his torture and the missing finger of Sauron. So why make this absurd claim about Sauron being mostly incorporeal during the War of the Ring? This is what makes no sense. Also, why would Sauron come out to battle? What makes you think he needs to be present when his forces are so vast that they theoretically should be able to handle any opposing force? Theoretically. Why doesn't Denethor come out to battle for Gondor? He explains this for us.
Denethor laughed bitterly.
Nay, not yet, Master Peregrine. He will not come save only to triumph over me when all is won. He uses others as his weapons. So do all great lords if they are wise, Master Halfling.
Denethor does not mean when Sauron magically assumes a body. He means that Sauron will spend his servants and slaves while he sits in his tower, because there is no need to leave it yet. Others will do his work for him, and he will reap the benefits. A king on a throne commanding his subjects. As Denethor says, so do all great lords, if they are wise. Sauron is in what is arguably the safest place in all of Middle-earth, the Tower of Barad-dûr in Mordor. No one can get to him there unless they do what he thinks is incomprehensible: destroy the One Ring. Sauron does not believe that anyone could get close to Mount Doom without him realising, and he doesn't believe anyone would have the will to give up or destroy the One Ring. So he can sit in his tower and use the devices he spends his power on, his vast armies, his dark land and fortress, until all is won, and he can then emerge. At the end of the Second Age, Sauron did leave his tower and put himself at risk. In that event, he lost the One Ring and his physical form. He has regained shape, but if he unwisely marched with his forces on Minas Tirith and was slain, that's more time wasted, more power wasted in mustering the will to regain his shape. Mocking him as just some bad guy shows that the author does not understand the danger throughout the entire story. If Sauron obtains the ring, he wins. End of story. The fact he is unseen throughout The Lord of the Rings makes him terrifying. He is the looming threat, sitting in his tower, ever gazing outward into the world, constantly searching for the one thing that ensures his victory and ensures he can't be defeated. If you stuck around for this entire response, thanks for watching. I hope you can help the channel grow by subscribing or leaving your thoughts in the comments. I'll see you next time.